Good afternoon. I'm grateful to the Indian Merchants Chamber or Ladies Wing for inviting me to participate in your opening session of your annual event for International Women's Day. And thank you so much, Jyoti, for that really touching introduction. And of course, I'm delighted to be in conversation with Vidya Balan, someone I consider the most real and powerful Indian woman on the screen today. An actor who, with her joie de vivre and the effortless way that she steeps herself in different characters, brings a rare energy to the screen. Welcome, Vidya. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. And a very good afternoon to you, Vinita. And may I call you Vinita?
Of course.
Yeah. And to all those who preceded you, Anuja ma'am, Jyoti ma'am, Aarti ma'am, and to everyone who's watching, a very good afternoon and a very happy Women's Day in advance.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.
Vidya, from a geeky teenager in Hum Panch, where we saw you first on television, to mothering Amitabh Bachchan in Pa, to playing a sensual, manipulative woman in Ishqiya, to a scientist in Mission Mangal, and an out-and-out siren in The Dirty Picture, and then a housewife, a mathematician. Have you done it all? Or is there any character left that you still wish to explore?
I've just about scratched the surface, honestly. I think as many women as there are in the world, there are, as many roles as there are women in the world. So I still have a long, long way to go because every woman is unique, just as every individual is unique. So I'm a greedy actor. I want the opportunity to play different women on screen. And thankfully, so far, I consider myself very fortunate that I've had fabulous opportunities to do so, play varied women who are individuals in their own right, sometimes women who are coming into their own, women coming of age, women just breaking shackles and all of that, but women just celebrating their womanhood, all of that, but there's a long way to go.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you're a greedy actor because we are a greedy audience. We want to see more of you always. But
Thank you.
Vidya, to me, you will always be Parinita and you will always be Sulu. Because I've seen all your movies, but between these two characters, I think from whatever we know about you, you being a public personality and, a lot of your life is laid out open there. I think that's really you. Is that true? Were these two the characters that you really played in from your heart?
Honestly, I think, Vinita, at every point or with every character that I played, I've probably identified myself with that character most at that point in time, which is why I was able to take on the role and play it. So I think there's a little bit of each of these characters in me, as much as there is a little bit of me in each of these characters. I think because we're not unidimensional people, there are parts of us that remain dormant forever. But being an actor gives me the opportunity to just dig into my inner being and just allow those parts, dormant parts, to surface and discover parts that I didn't know existed. So Sulu is probably closer to me than a lot of the other characters I've played because I laugh a lot.
Yes.
Prima facie, I think that's the one thing that I loved about Sulu. I connected with her because I was like, wow, there is someone who can laugh at the drop of a hat like me. I have got to play this person, other than the fact that her story, her journey was very, very interesting to me.
Yes, and a very relatable character. You make it relatable because you're very relatable. One is able to think about you as someone one knows and is friends with. So you cross that.
I think I've been very fortunate because I've a lot of times, I have worked on characters that are very relatable to me. Sometimes the challenge is in playing a character that you don't necessarily identify yourself with, or identify yourself with to a lesser degree. But in the case of a character like Sulu, I think, you just Yeah, and that's the joy, when someone brings you something like that and you say, wow, it's so relatable. It may not necessarily be me, but I've seen women like Sulu all around me. So, that was the point of identification. And I think, therefore, it was such a joy. But a lot of the credit for that goes to the writing and the direction.
Yes, and you bring it alive, absolutely. Vidya, did you always want to be an actor?
Always. I think I was 8.5, probably, yeah. I was 8.5 when I fell in love with Madhuri Dixit in Ek Do Teen, and I knew this is what I wanted to do, but then half the country wanted to, be Madhuri Dixit then. But I think my parents soon realized that this was not a passing fancy, that, this is a kind of an obsession. They only realized it was also some sort of commitment much later, but it first turned into an obsession and then, a commitment. I hope it's a lifelong commitment, but this is the only thing that I've ever wanted to do. And I'm therefore so grateful that I'm living my dream every single day. I've not wanted to do anything else. Besides, of course, being a Tanpura teacher while I was in school, I used to go to classical music concerts, and I would see that the constant with a vocalist and a percussionist is a Tanpura player. So I thought that, that was the most important person in a performance. So I wanted to be a Tanpura player, and my mom, she still laughs a lot about it. But besides that, I think, I've only wanted to be an actor.
He lost a good Tanpura player, but gained a wonderful actor. We've all heard, Vidya, about how you and your sister were brought up in a manner where you were just allowed to be yourselves. And you've said that at one point you said, and I was very touched by that you wish every girl in the world had a father like yours. Yeah. So what was so unique in your upbringing?
I think just this, while I think we were just allowed to be us. We were importantly never told that y'all are girls and y'all can't do this. I think that's the most precious thing about our upbringing. My sister is 4 years older than me. Her name's Priya. And both of us have done exactly what we wanted to do in life. Whether professionally, personally, there was no need to, of course, there was sometimes fear of how my parents would react because, but I think we've been very honest with our parents always. That's because they treated us like individuals, and not like they had unconventional upbringings themselves. But somehow they managed to overcome the fear and the trepidation they must have felt and gave us wings to fly. So I think it's equally my parents, but I say more my father because, invariably the patriarch, my father could have ended up being a patriarch, but he did not. And that I'm very, very proud of.
Yes, and as he has said that he never missed not having a son because for him, you and your sister were complete, like, his children. And he takes as much pride in you as he would have in a son, perhaps.
Absolutely. And therefore we've had the support. We've never been judged. For example, I want to share with you that when I did the Dirty Picture, and it was a kind of film that I was a little, I want my parents to feel proud of what I do, and I remember the screening, I was worried. During the interval, I was standing outside the screening room, waiting to see how they'd react. When they came out, I was like, I hope they don't tell me that, what the hell have you done, or something like that. Or in the case of my parents, they would have just fallen silent. They wouldn't have said anything if they were disapproving of it. But they came out and my father actually clapped. He said, I did not see my daughter anywhere in the film. And you know what that did for the rest of the people watching the film also? They felt it was okay to approve of this because, it was extended family, it was friends and everyone. Everyone was a bit cautious because you don't know how, if my parents
did the father's reaction first.
Yeah. And my mother was still held in. So I was like, oh, maybe she's not liked it. But at the end of the film, she cried.
Okay.
She cried and she said, firstly, it was tough for her to see me die on screen as Silk. Yeah, I think, but importantly, she said, not for one moment did I feel you looked cheap.
Mhm.
I think that was a huge compliment coming from her, because it's a very thin line between being sexy and sleazy.
Yeah.
But I think, again, I'm so grateful for the people I worked with. They managed to, manage that fine balance.
Yeah. And you do that beautifully in Ishqiya as well. In Ishqiya, you portray a sensual woman who is also very manipulative. And yet there's that sadness in her, which is very visible. And you did it beautifully. I think it was played so well, amazingly.
Thank you. It's one of my favoriteest characters, as a matter of fact, because I feel like I rediscovered myself as an actor on that film, or rather, I renewed my vows with acting on that film. Because just before Ishqiya, I was going through a phase where I'd done some films which I wasn't so excited about. So I was very indifferent to the films, and I didn't end up, feeling good or doing good in the film. So the films did very well, but I got criticized a lot.
Yes.
Thankfully, not for my performance, but for everything else. So I was kind of wondering what's the way forward now? And that's when Ishqiya was offered to me. And, during the course of the shoot, I realized that, wow, this is why I became an actor, because there is a Krishna. The character's name is Krishna. There is a Krishna in each one of us. There's a Krishna in me for sure. And I discovered that part of me, someone who's, yes, got her sadness, but she's not an abla nari. She's been cheated, she's been betrayed, but she does not see herself as a hapless victim. She uses her sexuality as a powerful tool to seduce these men, to get them to do what she wants, because she knows that's the only language they understand. So I think I felt that was such a powerful character. It was so well written. I enjoyed playing it. So thank you. That's any compliment for Ishqiya is always very special.
And you just alluded to it, and it's something that I definitely wanted to talk to you about. There was a phase where you were criticized a lot for your fluctuating weight. You were criticized for the way you dress, and you also admitted openly that it was something that brought you down for a while. And you tried to play to the gallery, in the sense even the movies you were accepting were movies you thought would do well commercially, and then there was this turnaround where you just came into your own. You're comfortable in your skin, and you're so confident, and the same people who criticized you for the same things are giving you accolades for the same things, surprisingly. Like today, they are like, she's so comfortable in her skin. How does it matter? What matters is that she's so good. She's such a wonderful actor. She looks so good. So how did you do that? What is your secret? I mean, it'll help a lot of women who are watching today.
I think what happened is that I began to love and accept myself a little more each day. And therefore, I became, more acceptable to people. Not only acceptable, but they began to shower me with love and accolades and appreciation and all of that. I think it's so important. It was so important for me to have gone through what I did. Of course, it was very public, and at that time it felt like, really insurmountable, because I come from a non-film family. There was no one to tell me that, these phases don't last. And I thought, like, my weight issue has become a national issue. And I've always been a fat girl, and I won't say that I'm at a stage where my fluctuating weight does not bother me anymore at all, but I've come a long, long way. I have, I've had hormonal issues all my life, and therefore there was a phase, or rather for the longest time, I hated my body. I thought my body betrayed me. On the days when I wanted to look a certain way, on special days, invariably, I think out of the pressure of wanting to look my best, I would end up bloating up. and I would be so angry, I would be so frustrated. But over time, I realized that the body is the only thing that's keeping me alive, really. Because the day the body stops functioning, I'm not going to be around. So I have a lot of gratitude to give to this body. However, I feel it doesn't matter what I've been through, I'm alive because of this body.
Yeah, true.
And in blood and bones, and therefore I think something changed and it began to change, and slowly I feel with each day I've begun to love and accept myself more. It's not been easy, and you have to fake it till you make it. Tell yourself I love and accept myself just the way I am, and you don't believe it, and it's okay. You feel like, but when I don't believe it, how can I keep saying it? But it's okay. Doesn't matter the length of your hair, doesn't matter the thickness of your arms or the girth of your waist or your height. What matters is who you are as a person. And when you begin to appreciate that person within, you look beautiful without, on the outside. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And then every imperfection looks like amazing. It doesn't strike you as an imperfection because it's the energy that we exude. But when we're constantly loathing and hating ourselves, how can you end up looking good? Yeah. It's a very precious lesson I've learned being an actor, and a very tough lesson also, especially because it was so public. But I'm so grateful for it, Vinita. I cannot even begin to tell you.
So thank you so much for sharing this, because you are so honest about it, and the way you open up, it I'm sure helps hundreds and thousands of other girls in your position, who feel so horrible about themselves just because people are so judgmental and about things that don't matter at all.
Actually, I've realized that, beyond a point, it's not people judging you. It's how you judge yourself. But, again, this is something that we all need to be so cautious about when we're bringing up children. Color of the skin, weight, and all of this, especially with girls, one has to be very careful about it. Because I think my mom has had a weight issue all along. So I think she was always very, very concerned that my sister and I should be small so that we don't get judged or teased like her. What ended up happening was we both are far from small. So, I think so we have to be, I think, very conscious and try not to pass down our fears and insecurities. And it's easier said than done. My mother has come a long way in accepting her body today, but I think we've traversed that journey together.
Wonderful. Vidya, you've one trait which is very predominant in you is confidence and faith in yourself. So, and you've made the most bold choices, whether be it Dirty Picture or Bobby Jasus. You've never shied away from making different and bold choices. What is it that you always tell yourself when you make a choice like that? And when you don't know what you're going to get into, is there a mantra that you repeat to yourself? Is there something you tell yourself?
No, what I realized around that time when I was doing Ishqiya is that the reason I'm here is because I want to act. So, all the other superficial things can be fixed, like the dressing with a good stylist, the weight with exercise. And now I've, of course, realized to the extent exercise and diet can help, it will help. But beyond that, you have to accept your body. But importantly, I realized that I was still being offered wonderful parts as an actor. So I had nothing to worry about. All I needed to do was just jump in to the process, get into the skin of the character, inhabit that world. And sometimes, like I said, the person is more similar to me. Sometimes the person or the person's reality is far removed from me, but that's the joy of it, of just traveling through these diverse worlds and minds, So it's, I think when I'm choosing a part, there's no fear. There's only instinct. I remember at the time of the Dirty Picture, there were people who told me, when it started appearing in the papers as a rumor, there were people who told me, are you mad? It'll mean the end of your career. And around that time, I realized that I have to only tune into the voice within. because 10 people will have 20 different opinions. Because people's opinions also change.
Yeah.
So you may have an opinion one day, tomorrow you may tell me something else. So if I'm going to base my decision on your opinion, then I'm really going to be a confused person, and I'm going to resent you. I'd rather only because I can stand by what I believe in. So I began to follow my instinct and just do things that I like, that I connect to, that I believe in. And sometimes it's worked beautifully in terms of commercial success. Sometimes it hasn't. But I don't repent a single film I've done.
Mm-hmm. You have no regrets. That's the best way to state to be.
Yeah.
That's a lesson a lot of women and a lot of men as well need to learn.
Right.
Vidya, in the last decade or so has seen a decided shift in perspective and attitudes towards women across the world and in Indian cinema as well. With your portrayal of strong protagonists in Pa, Ishqiya, No One Killed Jessica, Dirty Picture, Kahani, and many other films, you have helped break the stereotypical image of women in Bollywood. Has it been a deliberate quest for you, or did it just happen because you went along life as you wished to?
I don't think it was deliberate at all, but I think I couldn't help it.
Yes.
I do think the change was underway, which is why I was being offered these parts. Because if I was being offered these parts, that means someone had written it before I played it, and someone was already,
you chose to do those parts, which many people may not have.
No, but I'm saying, it was already out there. It was waiting to be chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I just went ahead and did it because I feel my work is an extension of my beliefs. So which is why I've chosen these parts. I couldn't have done something where the woman is, being mistreated, being misrepresented, is being, or she's just, she does not have a substantial role to play, where she is not her own person. Those kind of parts don't excite me.
Yeah.
So which is why I think I've veered towards a kind of women I like, I admire, I'm inspired by, I look up to, all of that.
The kind of women who are larger than life, who are thrilled with life, who are trying to be their best versions of themselves. That's the kind of woman, right?
Absolutely. Women who are trying to be the best versions of themselves despite whatever they might be facing. I must share with you that I've been a little low since this morning because I got news that my masseuse passed away. She was 72 and she's the most spirited woman I have known. She is someone whose story really inspired me. She was widowed very early in life and was literally on the streets with 2 children and nowhere to go. And slowly she started working, and in the past few years she made enough money through years of hard work to be able to afford a 4-room house in Virar. And it was in a nice building, and she was so proud, and she was so... These kind of stories really inspire me.
Yes, I can imagine.
Because it's about Women's Day, which is why I brought this up, because I think heroes are not just extraordinary. The extraordinary emerges from the ordinary. Mm-hmm. No one is a unicorn, really. You're not born... or rather, everyone is born unique. We need to discover that within ourselves. Like her story, she was 71, because until last year she used to come on a daily basis. She would be doing 4 or 5 massages. She would laugh heartily. She was working really hard, and she was doing so well for herself. And she would help anyone in need. Mm-hmm. So I think there are heroes to be found all around us.
Yes,
and
just be sensitive enough to find them, to understand.
We have to really not, because heroes are not just people who are larger than life.
Yes.
That's what I feel, because we look to people who are celebrities or who are famous or whose names appear in the newspapers or who appear on television, and I think there are heroes all around us. There's a hero in each one of us if only we care to discover that.
Beautifully said. Vidya, do you think things have changed much for women though? In cinema also we find a lot of women portraying those real life roles, but actually actors like you or Deepika or Kangana or many others are still not paid equal to your male counterparts. And outside in the real world also, there are still safety concerns, there's domestic violence, there's discrimination at home and work. Do you really think that the gap is shortening now?
Oh, the gap is definitely shortening now, but I keep saying this to people that it would be absolutely wrong to compare the remuneration of the male actors and female actors in the Hindi film industry. Because historically, you've only had male hero-led films. So, it's easier for people to bank on them. They're ready to invest more money, and then the returns are also that much more. But for the female-led films, that's a fairly new concept. So having said that, if you compare in the remuneration that men in male-led films and women in female-led films get, I think it's on par when you compare what we get to the overall budget of the film. So the ratio of what we get within the budget of a film, I think that's on par. As our films begin to do better and better and better, and people invest more and more money, our films will cost as much as theirs, and then we will be making as much money or hopefully more than them.
Yeah.
But I think there is more parity here than there is in a lot of other industries.
Okay. So, Vidya, you've been married, 8 to 9 years now?
8 years, yes.
8 years. So with that experience, what is your definition of marriage from your personal experience? How much is it a collaboration of compromises and sacrifice?
I think that people would keep saying, "Oh, marriage is a lot of work," and I would be like, if marriage is work, then I want no part of it. Obviously, you're younger and you feel like it's going to be different for you, but I do think marriage involves a lot of work because you're living with someone you haven't grown up with. And yet, because you begin to inhabit one space, I think it's so easy for you to take the other person for granted, and that is, I think, a terrible thing to happen in a marriage. Which is why people say that after a while, you lose the spark. After a while, I don't know. It's just like it's not the same as it is in the beginning, but I think I have discovered over these 8 years, and I'm sure a lot of you have been married for much longer and have very valuable insights into this, but I feel that it has involved work not to take the other person for granted, and therefore it's been joyous. Because when you slip up and then you're like, you don't put in as much, then it just becomes mundane.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the work that one needs to put in to keep the marriage strong and exciting.
I think we have time for just another couple more questions. One of the things I've been wanting to ask you is, what is the most bizarre thing you were ever asked to do for a film?
Oh my God.
Oh, yes.
The most bizarre thing is... in the Dirty Picture, there's a song where I whip myself. It is definitely, the song is called Nakamuka. It's definitely the most bizarre thing that I had to do on camera. But I think I was in the zone and I completely enjoyed it. And thankfully it wasn't a real whip.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, and if you were to, get back all the choices of life again, if you were to do it all over again, would you change anything? Would you want to change anything, or would you all just do the same things and make the same choices again?
I would think I'd do it exactly the same way, but who knows? Maybe I would have done things differently. But I'm happy with the way I've done it in this round.
Yes. Do you believe? Are you a believer in fate, in destiny?
I believe that fortune favors the brave.
And destiny plays no part in it?
I think we are makers of our own destiny.
Okay, yeah. And
because I'm not, I am someone who prays a lot, but I feel God helps those who help themselves.
Yes, so true. And even if there's destiny, and if it's waiting for you at the door, knocking on the door, if you don't open the door, there's nothing.
Open the door. Exactly.
Yeah, you just can't sit back and wait. As a woman and as an actor, what are the lessons that you've learned that you would like to share with all the women who are watching us today?
I think being an actor has taught me a lot about being a woman, about owning who I am, about standing up for myself, about using my voice, about celebrating my uniqueness and my individuality. And firstly, it's helped me discover my individuality. So I think I'm very grateful to the actor part of me, because it's probably, because you're living two characters at any given point of time, it's a crash course in life. You're, as much as you would discover being yourself, I discover the double of that, being myself and playing a character. So I think, sorry, did I answer your question or did I digress?
You did, and great, you have been all through as well. So that's lovely. And you have said, I'm still work in progress, and you said I'm still coming into my own. And I hope you stay like that always, because I do believe that, perfection is possibly the most boring thing in the world. And you should always be just striving to be better and better. And that's the best thing to be in. So when are we going to be seeing you in some movies again? It's been a long time and we're waiting for you.
Shakuntala released in July. And then, of course, because of the pandemic, I don't know whether my next film, Sherni, will release in the theatres or on a platform. But hopefully in a couple of months, Sherni will release, and that's going to be my next release.
And we are looking forward to you playing Indira Gandhi very soon as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's been lovely talking to you, Vidya. And I'm sure
absolutely. Same here, Vinita. Thank you so much.